Rev up your engines. Jeeps, people love them, people hate them. Today I'm going to tell you, well, it's not such a smart idea to buy a Jeep for everyday driving. Now, of course, CJ stands for civilian Jeep. They're originally military Jeeps for going off-road, wartime, in war zones, right? They're not made for driving on a highway, that's for sure. Now, this one was purchased by my grandson for a toy. For the small amount of money he paid for it, hey, not a bad choice for a toy. It even kind of looks like a toy. Somebody hooked an electric fan up on the front here to cool it down because it's been modified so much. And as you can see, a lot of the metal parts have been welded on. Kind of a sloppy job, but hey, beats having it all rusted out. Fenders have been cut down. It's got dual exhaust. This one's got a bunch of holes in it. As you can feel in here, that's a big hole. Now, you can see, this can make an excellent toy because it's got a V8 engine in it. Well, the other side doesn't have any holes. Needless to say, this big V8 engine with these little tiny mufflers on each side ain't gonna stop noise much. I would believe that it does only have 64,000 miles, not 164 or 264. As I said, these are toys. Often, they're not driven high mileage. Even though it's from the 1970s, that's all the mileage these things had put on it. Combined 8-ball here, there's a 3-speed standard transmission and a 4-wheel drive setup. And being an old toy, a lot of stuff doesn't work. Gas gauge doesn't work, temperature gauge doesn't work. None of these gauges have been hooked up, or if they were, they're not working anymore. Just realize one thing about these Jeeps. These CJs have a very short wheelbase. They're high up in the air. They ride like absolute crap. Hey, came from a military Jeep. Comfort is not their thing. They're fighting wars. This thing looks like it's been through a few wars. Now, a lot of the stock system is still there. I can tell because it's only got a 2-barrel carburetor, which is what this came with. The guys will throw a 4-barrel on, but I mean, this is a small vehicle. It gets horrible gas mileage. Even with a 2-barrel, you put a 4-barrel, you might even get half the gas mileage it's getting now. Realize this baby only gets about 10 miles a gallon as it sits now with just a 2-barrel carburetor. You push it on the highway, maybe you'll get 14 if you're lucky, but these vehicles are not made for the highway. They're too high. This one's got too much power for its chassis. Not a smart thing to be driving these things around 65, 70 miles an hour. This will do it with a V8, but like I say, not a smart idea. Of course, being high up in the air, these big old tires, they're gonna wear out fast. They're gonna ride like crap. It has the old-fashioned leaf spring suspension with shocks. That's in the back and in the front. Pretty much a duplication. Leaf springs with a shock. There's the front differential. And of course, this is an old school one. It has actual universal joints for the CV joints made out of metal. No rubber boot and flimsy stuff. These are solid made axles. You lock them and unlock them manually. Of course, the back are being driven all the time. Now, recently I drove a 6-cylinder CJ around, and it scared me once I got over 45 miles an hour. This thing has a V8. It's even scarier. Not that many women want to drive one of these, although some do. Well, it stopped running. Like I said, these things are gas hogs. My grandson doesn't want to spend much money on gasoline. It's bone dry again. Maybe I was a bit liberal with my 10 miles a gallon in this thing. It probably gets worse than that. That's what he said he was getting, but I think he's lying. So I'll pour some more gas in. Might take a while. Well, we got it going again, so let's see how far she'll go. Now you gotta steer all over the place to go straight. And we're only going about 15 miles an hour. Imagine taking this thing on a highway. You'd really be asking for it. It does have that sound though. Nice sound. Big old V8. Just watch out for the ditches. They're getting closer. Hey, we ran out of gas again. Well, like I said, these things are gas hogs. And this one also needs at least an alternator because it's only putting out 5 volts. But at least realize it's a 70s Jeep. Alternator's easy to get to, and I checked. The AutoZone down the street had one, less than $100, so no big deal. So we'll charge the old battery back so I can get it to my grandson's. Now, as you can see, these things go through the washing machine. The front's been bashed in, they've added. Fan wouldn't fit anymore, so now there's an electric one here, but really, that's not going to be doing all that much. That work was done by a knucklehead who owned it before, because check it out. Look at all the space here. You would run an electric fan here to suck it through. That's some insane add-on with a tiny little motor. It's going to suck very little air through the radiator. Now, if you want a toy to go off-road in, hey, for the small amount of money you paid for this thing, less than $3,000, fix it up and have some fun. But take this thing on a highway going 65 miles an hour, you got to be plumb out of your mind. As the tires say, Mud Rover. They don't say interstate. When you see this old CJ, you can understand why Jeep now makes basically SUVs. Grand Cherokee, stuff like that. They can be taken on the highway. They have modern suspension systems. They're not like this, that's much closer to a military Jeep. Be it a military Jeep, it's on steroids with a big V8 engine in it. I mean, let's face it, this thing doesn't even have power brakes. No, it does have power steering, I'll give it that. Having this big V8 engine, you better have power something. Though I would have opted out for power brakes myself with all this power. Now, the speedometer does say 85. Years ago, when I was young and reckless and had a crazy friend, we had one top over 100 miles an hour. It's rather amazing that I'm still here to tell the tale. So if you want one of these, say yes to the mud, but a big old no to the highway. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Will it ever end? I guess not. 30 million more vehicles are being investigated. More Takata airbag recalls. You think it will never end? I don't think it will ever end. Now the problem is the inflators themselves might just explode. They've already recalled over 100 million of these things worldwide. Now they're looking at another 30 million. But on the other hand, all the years they've had problems with these Takata airbags, let's put this in perspective. I'm honest about it, right? And that's all the years that airbags have had problems. In the United States, over all those years, that is half as many people that die every year in the United States from lightning strikes. Probably 10 times more possibility of being killed by lightning in the United States than you do by a Takata airbag. Over all these years in the United States, 19 people have died because of the airbag. Every year, 40-something people in the United States die of lightning strikes. Now, this encompasses 1,384 different vehicles that are manufactured by different companies. So there's a whole bunch of them out there. You might check up to see if you're going to get a recall. Just go to the National Highway Traffic Safety Association.org website, put in your VIN number. It'll show you everything. Russian Caveman says, I got a 2017 Honda Pilot with AC Black Death. My compressor locked up, there are metal particles, and everything was black inside. He says he's seen too many new Honda compressors go out because of the old oil. What do you think is the best course? Use the new PEG oil that's made for the R1234YF, or should I use the original? 2017 was still 134A. Okay, now that depends. It originally came with R1234YF, the new refrigerant. Some did and some didn't. Get your VIN number, call Honda Parts Department, they can tell you. If it came with that, you want to use the PEG oil that's for the R1234YF, right? Let's say it came with 134A, I would refill it with 134A and use the original Honda oil that it came with. That's what I would do, because you don't want to change. You can never flush all the old oil out. You don't want to change the oil. You want to use the same exact oil that the system came with, and don't change it. You don't want to mix. You mix stuff, all kinds of problems can happen. Mr. Practical says, a huge fan. My sister's going to college. Looking at an 02 Solara SE convertible to 140,000 miles for 5,000 Canadian. It's clean. What do you think? Well, I know things in Canada are more expensive, so that's what you're going to pay. They're great cars if they've been taken care of. Have a mechanic like me check it out. He'll tell you is it good, is it bad, and so forth. You can go through the whole thing. But realize it's a relatively old car. It's 20 years old. Make sure, since you're in Canada, that it's not rusted. There's a lot of salt on the road. If the frame is rusting, don't buy it, because those are unibody construction. And if the frame rots, you can't replace the frame, it's the whole car. But if it's rust-free, relatively rust-free at least, the frame's not rotting, there are holes all over the place, and the mechanic says it's good, it could be a very good car. They didn't make them, they stopped making them mainly because it was at the wrong price point. They were just fancy Camrys, really. But the people that wanted Camrys bought Camrys. The people who wanted fancier got Avalon, they were stuck in between, and so they stopped making it. It was more a sales thing than anything else. Engines, transmissions are the same as the Camrys and the Avalons, really. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, Remember to ring that bell.